All right.
I love seeing all the dogs.
You said what? You can see the dogs?
I said I love seeing all the dogs.
Oh.
Need to get my little guy in here.
All right. All right. Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm gonna actually mute all of you so that I can kind of hear a bunch of little things. Or if you can mute yourself. Okay. All right. I got them all muted.
There we go. You muted me on accident.
I know. I'll let you back in. All right. Hi, guys. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm glad so many of you came to join us. We are already at 90 people. That's amazing. So excited that you guys are coming to join Tori and I today. First thing first is I'm gonna let Tori tell you who she is. Uh-oh, somebody unmuted themselves.
I feel like it's gonna happen accidentally a couple times here and there.
Uh-oh, somebody unmuted me. Hold on. Haha, now you can't unmute yourselves. Figured it out. Okay.
All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Tori Vidales. I played for Impact. Oh, gosh. What years? I don't remember. 2011 to 2014. I graduated high school in 2014. I played softball at Texas A&M. I currently hold the all-time record for RBIs, runs, and total bases. Let's see. This will be my 5th year with the Mexico national team, and we qualified for the 2021 Olympics now, thanks Corona. And I also work for SEC Network. I'm a softball analyst for SEC Network, so if you ever turn TV on when softball's back, I'll be at the desk with some of the hosts, breaking down some of the plays. And then I also do a little bit of color commentary with SEC Plus, calling the Texas A&M softball games. And actually this year we're supposed to do a couple more games through ESPN, but obviously Rona got us going a little crazy. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
And you work for Package Deal.
Oh yeah, there's so many things I just kind of like forget. I'm a roster girl at Package Deal, so I hope you guys have heard of the Package Deal. Basically, we travel around, do camps and clinics. Right now, we're doing softball school, which has been really cool because obviously with everything going on right now, it's allowed not only the girls that work for Package Deal, but just people from all throughout the softball community to come and share stories, tips and tricks, just really stuff that we need to hear right now and what younger girls want to hear, and keeping them in that softball mindset without overloading them with drills and what you need to do to get better right now. We got to remember that this is a very sensitive time, so don't feel like you have to work. Allow yourself to rest, especially you guys go all the time. I think back to select days and I'm like, I have no idea how I did that. It was so much with high school playing practices, and then you play high school ball and you put that on top of it. And I played more than one sport, so it can be a lot. So just a reminder to kind of slow down and just enjoy the quarantine, maybe pick up a new hobby, something that you don't get to do very often that has nothing to do with softball. Yeah, if you love softball, go ahead and do some drills all day long if you want, but very important to slow down and really reflect during this time.
Right, Tori. All right. Oh, sorry. I wanted you guys to have Tori come with you. As you can hear from her resume, she's played at every single level that you guys have been and everywhere you're trying to go. So I wanted to kind of talk about her transition from club ball to college, and then from college to pro, and kind of let them know what were their differences and what you had to do to make that adjustment quicker,
Yeah, so
easier.
I'm actually going to take you guys back to the beginning of my impact career because I think it was kind of like a defining moment for me. My freshman year, I came on the team, and it was literally me and another girl, and we were the only freshmen on the team. And for us, we were the newbies, right? We were carrying all the equipment, we were doing all this stuff. We kind of had to earn our way and earn our spot. And uh, this was when obviously KC had some family stuff that he had to take care of. So he ended up not being the head coach for the 18 team that we were playing for. So we had a guy step in and be like the interim head coach. And so uh, moving through the season, we get to like the most important part. And I'd had a little bit of trouble just kind of trying to figure out his coaching style. Now that I look back on it, it's just crazy because I feel like everything could have been handled so differently on both sides. And um, when we got to like the most important tournaments, so you think like Colorado fireworks tournament, PGF, all these really, really important times, especially whenever I was in high school, that was like the prime. That was the year that you pretty much committed, right? And the time that you were going to get a scholarship. So that was the most crucial time for you to get that exposure and be seen by all these coaches coming to the tournaments. And I would only get the opportunity to play in pool games and maybe DH in bracket games. So I really had to make the most of my opportunity and find a way to contribute to the team without my talents. And I think that was something that I really struggled with at first because I was never the kid that had to go through like sitting on the bench, and I never experienced that. And really fighting my way through that kind of gave me a different perspective of just, hey, my physical talents aren't the only thing that I can bring to this team. And I think the reason it came full circle for me was KC actually the next year, he pulled us together. It was one of the very first fall practices, and he pulled us all out to the center field, which he normally did, and just try to relate something that was not even softball related to softball somehow. I remember he tried to relate a bowling ball rolling down the highway to hitting a softball, and I was like, what? It made absolutely no sense. But so that was his thing. We went out to center field, and he gets into this long speech, and then he starts finally wrapping it up, and he's like, we're actually going to have 4, not team captains, but like team leaders. These people are going to each have like 3 or 4 girls that they'll relay that information to, and basically you're like in charge of that little group. So kind of like mini accountability partners. And so he starts naming all these people that were going to be, it was 4 people. And he like names obviously 2 of the seniors and then 1 of the juniors. And then he says my name. And I was like, what? Me? I didn't even play last year. Like, what are you talking about? And I went up to him afterwards and I was like, why did you pick me? I didn't play last year. He's like, T Money. That's what he calls me. T Money. I see what you can do. And I see the way you took on the struggles last season. And that's the kind of person I want leading my team. Even though you didn't contribute, you always had a good attitude in the dugout. You were always cheering on your teammates, and it was genuine. Like, I wasn't cheering and then talking behind their back like, oh, she's terrible, I can't believe she's playing over me. No, it was true happiness, just so excited to be there, learn from older girls. And really, I knew that I would have my opportunity. So from then on, I was just kind of all in, just mentally, and giving my energy, plugging in is what I call it now, but plugging into another teammate and giving them all that I had to give without stepping on the field very much. So he said, I recognize that, and I really like that, and I think you have a really bright future, not only with Impact, but in college too, and beyond. So I was honored by that. I think that was the moment where I finally realized, like, hey, you know what? He's right. Like, I did give a lot to the team, and I did go through a lot, but now it's time for me to kind of give back and really prove on the field that this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I actually remember, Jazz, a story about you. We were we were at a tournament in Spring Klein. It was like one of the very first tournaments, and we were tied with this team, and we were just having trouble scoring. Both teams were. And I had gotten a hit, gotten on first base, and the pitcher had the ball in her glove and set her glove down on the ground. And Jazz was coaching third because Casey wasn't there, but she set her glove down on the ground. And if you don't call time as a pitcher and the ball is still in your glove and you set it down, it's still a live ball because you don't have the ball in your hand, right? So I see that, and I'm not very fast, and I never was. So it's important to remember that I was not fast. So I was taking every opportunity I had to really advance on the bases. And so I saw that, and I took off to second, and like everybody was just kind of like staring at me, and I was standing on second base like, that's right, I just stole second. What's up? And I remember you pulled me aside and you were like, that right there is exactly what we need on this team. Like, you are the leader this year. Like, you have, I think this was maybe senior year. You said, like, I'm expecting you to teach these girls that are younger than you that IQ, and like that IQ is why you're so good. And so for me, I think it just happened so naturally, and I was able to kind of grow, not just physically. Like, I was creating a softball IQ. Like, I was learning from everybody that I came in contact with, whether it was a coach or a friend or a teammate or an opposing player, because I feel like you can always learn something about it. And I feel like Impact was really that time for me to learn before I went to college, because being around all these girls, like, I played with some really good people, and I took that opportunity to really learn from them. And once I got to college, I look back and think, wow, like, that experience for me, I think put me ahead at least a year, 2 years, because I felt so prepared going in that I was confident in my situations. I was confident in what I had to bring to the table. So going into college, I actually had the opportunity to start at third base, which I grew up most of
Wait,
my
hold
career.
up, Tori. Hold up, Tori, on that. I want to
Yeah.
reiterate something that you said that I want the kids to hear again.
Yeah.
That she took time when she wasn't playing, and you said that you plugged in. Like, that was your saying. So when you say you plugged in, what does that mean for you? Like, you were into the game, or you were into the situation? Like, what did you mean? Like, you said when I wasn't playing, I was still trying to stay plugged in.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So whenever I say plugged in, I'm referring to just how easy it is to kind of be checked out during the game. It's easy when you're not in the game to just kind of like forget. You accidentally miss the runner stealing second, or you're not calling bunt, or whatever it may be. Those situations where the dugout is really crucial. It's so easy to sit there and be like, oh, poor me, I'm not playing. I can't believe it. Like, all these things. So for me, I just decided to pick a player on the field and plug my energy into them. So obviously no one's going to be happy if they go 0 for 3, but I was going to find someone that day and pick them out and encourage them all day. Hey, I see you making adjustments. Hey, I see you. That was a great contact. You're going to get the next one. Or if they were trying to make a play on the infield, hey, great range right there. Way to get rid of the ball quickly. Like, it's just like little things where you're encouraging somebody else and putting your energy towards making someone else better. Because when you're sitting on the bench, it sucks, but it's going to happen eventually. Like, everybody's going to have that moment. And I never thought it would happen to me. So I had to figure out a way to really find a way to stay in the game. And too, like, I realized when you were off the bench, you can learn so much about another team by just watching, even your own team. Like, what are your pitcher's tendencies? Okay, maybe every time they call a changeup, she licks her lips, right? It's little things like that that you may not see when you're on the field because you have your back towards her. So if I see that, I'm going to be like, hey, before you throw your changeup, you're licking your lips. So be conscious of that. Maybe don't try it, see what it feels like. That way you're picking up something before the other team does, before they're allowed to pick that pitch. So I just think putting your energy towards something else and not worrying about you not playing in your situation, putting your experience or your energy into somebody else's experience and lifting them up while making them better. I feel like that makes both of you better at the end of the day.
I think that's huge. I just wanted to make sure they understood that. That's a huge message of what to do to keep getting better. Because you didn't play the whole summer. Like, I don't know if they get that. The whole summer, guys.
Yeah, well, and to the craziest part was I ended up committing my freshman year, and Coach Evans, the head coach at Texas A&M, she had seen me play whenever I was in 8th grade, and that was like a big deal that I got to talk to her because I wasn't in high school yet, so I wasn't breaking any rules. And I remember talking to her. She was like, come to a camp. Like, we'd love to see you play. And at this point, I was still playing shortstop. So she saw me as a shortstop. And then whenever I didn't play, and then I remember she came to watch one of my high school games, and I was actually playing first. And I was playing with a shortstop glove, so like 11 and a quarter glove, trying to catch these balls coming from my infielders, which now I look back and I just laugh. But I had no idea what I was doing at first back then. Like, I was just like, oh, just get my foot on the bag and catch it. Like, it was. So she saw me in those 2 instances, and then I went to a camp, and she ended up offering me a scholarship to come play at A&M. And I think back and I'm like, wow, like she had that much faith in me, and she had only seen me play a handful of times, because even in the pool games that I did have the opportunity to play in with Impact, I would get a good hit, I'd get a double or something, and that coach would pull me. And I would be like, man, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I just got a double. Like, I was making good plays on the infield. And he was like, oh, you want to leave them wanting more so that they'll come back. And I was like, what? Like, I'd never heard of that. And so I was like, okay, like, whatever you say. And I ended up going to that camp, the summer camp, and I committed on spot, and I had to keep it a secret for a little while because we wanted to bring more recruits to the field to watch my other teammates that were older than me and hadn't gotten
committed
recruited.
yet.
Yeah, so I was already committed freshman year, which, thinking back, I committed to college before I got my driver's permit. How crazy is that?
Very, but it was
Ridiculous.
common back then. Very common back then.
Yeah, I mean, back then, and the interesting thing too now is, like, just with recruiting, I feel like so much emphasis is put on, like, I want to go to a big school, I want to go to a Power 5, I want to be an All-American, I want to do this and whatever else, whatever your goals are. But I think the biggest thing that I could tell you is go somewhere that's going to make you happy and that you're going to be able to contribute the most. And whether that's junior college, NAIA, D3, D2, D1, doesn't matter. Find somewhere that speaks to you and give it your all, because who knows, maybe you could end up being like an All-American in D2. Maybe you could be like that school's hero, get your jersey retired, like all these great things where you could have sold yourself short if you would have went to a school that maybe you wouldn't have been as happy at. Maybe the title seemed cooler, but it's important to know that there's somewhere for everyone. So I don't want anybody to feel discouraged if maybe they don't have 20 D1 offers or Power 5 offers. I think it's all about what you're looking for in a school, and if a school is looking for you specifically. Definitely think.
How many times do you get asked about other schools that are recruiting you? Like, do people ask you about them or no?
Every single time. Every time like I do like a lot of interviews or talk to people that like don't really play softball or weren't around the game, they'll always be like, oh yeah, like what other schools were recruiting you? And I was like, well, actually, not really any. I went to a couple Texas camps, UT camps, my 7th and 8th grade year, and I was a big Texas fan growing up. I don't know why, and I'm kind of like ashamed to say that now as an Aggie, but I had no ties to Texas, like nothing. But back then, like when you thought of softball, in Texas, you thought of University of Texas. And so I remember going there, and they were just like praising me. They were like, wow, like all the girls too, like they were like, wow, you're only in 8th grade, like all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, and I remember talking to the coach afterwards, and she was like, you know what, we'd really like you to have to come on a visit, but not until a year from now. And I was like, and I was in 9th grade at this point, so I was like, a year, like that's late, like I'm gonna be already almost done with high school at that point. I felt like, oh wow, that's so late, right? I know, hindsight. So at that point, I remember kind of being like, well, you know what? My friend asked me to go to A&M camp. Like, I'm going to go with her. So that's why I ended up even going to the A&M camp.
So you weren't invited to the A&M camp?
No.
She didn't call you and give you a personal letter to go?
No, it was nothing like that.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was just so Erin Ottoff, she was like a huge A&M fan, like
Yeah, she was.
big time. And her and I were really close. So we both went to the summer camp and we were just having a good time. Like we were like, oh, let's see how many like throws we can get in one time. Like we were just messing around. We were just having a good time. And yeah, she watched us play. And it's funny now that I look back on that because Riley Sarton was actually in our infield group in that little I guess camp. She held a couple people of a couple of the infielders back and wanted to hit us some ground balls so she could like look at our form and just see how we meshed and everything. And I remember Riley and Caitlin were there. Riley was wearing this
Oh, that's funny.
bow, and I
Oh,
was like,
Riley.
I hope she knows that Coach Evans doesn't like bows. Like you're not allowed to wear it. So it's funny now looking back. I always remind her. I'm like, yeah, you remember when you showed up with that huge bow on your head? And she's like, oh my God, let's not talk about it. But you guys will have to ask her about the bow if she ends up coming on here. But
Yeah.
so where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. What was it? What were we talking about?
About camp, about how you just went to camp and then
How
she
other
held you
people.
back.
Yeah. So there was this time where I told my mom, I was like, what if Texas and A&M both offer me a scholarship? Like it was like some far-fetched idea. And she was like, well, you're just going to have to see which one is a better fit for you. And so I went on a visit to A&M, an unofficial, and we went to a basketball game, which is kind of weird because normally you go like in the fall and you go to like a football game and you hang out with all the players. I did not hang out with any players. It was me and another girl who ended up being one of my really good friends on Impact. And we were on the visit, Mackenzie Kerpeck.
Oh, yeah.
We were
Who
on
chose
the
Texas?
visit. Yeah, who ended up going to Texas. So we kind of like flip-flopped. But we went on our visit and I loved everything about A&M. I always say you get this gut feeling when you know that you belong somewhere and you know that you're supposed to be there. And I felt like everything that I wanted from a school, they had. And it's crazy to me that I made such a huge decision at 14 years old that I still believe in today. And I still think was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, because a lot of the like journeys that I've been on so far have come from connections from A&M. Like the only reason I have my job at SEC Network is because I worked for 12th Man Productions, which was the school's broadcasting company during college. So I worked there for 3 years while I was playing softball and I was a full-time student. So it was a lot of things that helped me get there, but definitely A&M propelled me in the right direction. And I loved my major and I loved everything about it. And I love that I can go back and still be considered a family. Like you never really graduate from A&M. You're always a part of the family.
That's awesome. So do we have any questions yet? If you have a question, I think there's a little button on there where you can like raise your hand. Is that still on there?
Maybe.
No.
Oh yeah, you can do reactions.
No?
And then
Okay.
you can do the little clap. And we'll try to find you.
And we'll find you.
We'll find you. There's so many. I didn't realize there was 4.
Oh, I got one. All right.
Oh yeah, let's go.
How did you get college coach? This comes from Emma.
Hi Emma.
How did you get colleges to come out to your games and notice you? Like, what did she do as a person, or what did she do on her team? Hold on. I want Emma to ask that question. Emma, where are you? Let me find you, Emma. Okay, I don't know where Emma is.
Emma, unmute yourself, can she?
No, she can't.
You put it on. Wow, it's like child lock for the Windows.
It is. They're crazy. They don't know how to do it right. Let's see. I thought there was a way that you could. Emma, hit your reactions and give us a clap or a. Oh, there you go, Emma. I see you, girl. Okay. Ask us, Emma. Let us know what you think.
I was wondering, how did you get them to come notice you at first? Like, how did you get them to come and watch you?
Well, first of all, kudos to you for asking the first question when there's a lot of people. I know that's sometimes a little nerve-wracking, so good job.
Yes.
For me personally, whenever I was with Impact, we had a recruiter that kind of did that for us and would like send out emails. And like I said, whenever Coach Evans first saw me, we were actually, I don't know if I told you guys, well, when I was in 8th grade, we were on a 14U team, and we were playing up in 16U. So 16U is normally the age range that a lot of coaches go to because it's first 2 years of high school, around there. So there was a lot of coaches there, and they just happened to notice our team because we were winning a lot and we all looked like 12-year-olds. We were really young and playing against these really old girls. We felt like they were really old. So I think that was kind of like the catalyst for us, was that one tournament. It was in Frisco, Texas. Like, I just remember it so clearly. But I think the biggest thing now to get them to come to your games is send them an email. I'm not really sure on all of the recruiting rules now, just like making contact or anything, but the more you put yourself out there, the more they're going to be inclined to come watch you, because a lot of times they're going to be at a lot of the tournaments that you're at anyways. So if they're there and they know that you're interested, they're going to be like, oh, hey, I remember this kid sent me an email. Let me just go check it out really quick. And you never know, maybe it may not be a right fit for you, but maybe somebody on your team could end up getting looked at because of that. So I think it's just like a never ending cycle of helping your teammates out too. But yeah, sending emails. I think a really cool touch would be sending a personal letter and including your schedule in there. I don't know how early you guys get them or anything like that now, like with your actual
Pretty
like
early.
bracket play.
For the
But
most part,
that
pretty
would be
early.
a great, like a Colorado tournament. I know you get those really early, like, hey, this is when we play field whatever, field 2, 7:00. Like, I'd love for you to come watch me. I'm really interested in your program, X, Y, and Z. But I think a big thing is just going to camps and getting in front of them is going to be the best way for them to get their eyes on you. And even if they specifically aren't watching you, all college coaches will go around to everyone working the camp and be like, hey, if you see a kid that really sticks out, like, remember their name or remember their number and give it back to me, and I'll make sure to get around to them. So it's never about just the head coach. You never know who's watching and who could really change your life.
All right, I got Raven here. What's up, Raven?
Okay.
Raven. Like that.
Do you have like any regrets or anything throughout your whole journey, or things that like you were prayed about and then God answered you or something?
I think for me, the biggest thing that I wish I would have done more of is making connections. I feel like I spent a lot of time like trying, especially in college, like holding people accountable, and kind of, I got labeled like the mean one because I was the one that would always hold people accountable. Hey, tuck in your shirt. Hey, pick up those balls. Hey, don't forget your belt. Like, it was just one of those things. And I feel like people never really got to see the non-softball side of me, because I'm a huge believer of softball is what we do, not who we are. And a lot of us don't learn that, especially when you're young, because you're drilled so much like, you have to go to practice, you have to get a scholarship, you have to be successful at this level. So we start to feel like softball owns us. And when in reality, like, we do this for fun, right? We do this for the love of the game. So if anything, I think it would just be spending more time to build those relationships, because when you graduate, you want to be able to look back on those times that you had in college and be like, or in high school, just like, wow, do you remember that time we went to the store? And like, it's just like crazy stuff that you remember. Like, most of my memories aren't even on the field. Like, they're definitely off the field with some of my best friends. And I wish I would have more of those, because I spent more time investing not only in our relationship, but just like as a team bonding. Because I feel like you could be so good and not have that connection. And if you don't have that connection and trust within one another, you will never reach your full potential.
Good question. Good question, Raven. Who else we got? Come on. Give me some hand claps or whatever those things. Oh, I got one. Here we go. Hello, Peyton.
Hi, I have a question. So, when did you like start contacting coaches?
So I actually didn't contact coaches. I just kind of, like I was telling Emma, I kind of just ran into some luck on the recruiting side because Coach Evans was in the stands watching our game, and they were already there. So I never personally sent emails or reached out, but I did go to camps. I think that was a big thing for me. If I wouldn't have went to the A&M camp, I would have probably not gone to A&M. So you never know which camp could change your life. And like I said, you never know who's watching. Anybody could be watching, and a lot of people in softball have a ton of connections. Be like, man, coach, I saw this really good shortstop or whatever position you play. I see this really good girl. You need to go check her out. And then next thing you know, they're there watching you, and you may get an offer from that. So never know who's watching. Always make sure you're playing full out.
Peyton, how old are you?
12.
12. So are you first year 12 or second year 12?
What does that mean?
How old are you?
12.
Okay. When did you turn 12? Let's start.
January.
Okay, so you're second year 12, I'm guessing, or first year 12. I would start sending them stuff like thank yous after camps, and after you see them places, start there, and then in 14 you send them your schedules and things like that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We got Blakely. Hold on. Blakely, what we got?
Oh, God.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so how do you know what college you want to go to? How do you know which one's right for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I actually was thinking about this earlier today. If you would ask me now what I would pick in a college, the questions that I would ask and what I was looking for, it would be so different than when I was in high school looking for that. So I think the biggest thing is find out what's really important to you. Maybe you're a huge football fan, right? I have a friend, Lauren Hager. You guys probably have heard of her. She said on her on her journey of getting recruited, she was like, I want to go to a school where football is huge. And that was one of her big things. And so she ended up going to Florida and staying there. But finding what's important to you. So whether that be extracurriculars, whether that be a certain major that you want to be in, what kind of workouts do they do? Like, what does their strength coach base their workouts on? At A&M, we were very heavy weights, not much cardio, whereas other teams, they run till they puke, so it just depends. What do you want from a college? So starting there is probably one of the most important things. And right, we always make these lists like, oh, write your top 10 colleges on here. So you write out those top 10 colleges, and maybe you go on a visit or whatever it may be. You will notice when you start applying those criteria to other schools, they cross themselves off, right? If you're staying true to what you want from a college, then it becomes a little bit easier to find that right place of where you really belong. And always trust your gut. Women have an intuition. Follow it.
Blakely,
Right.
I will send you this. We have this thing that kind of helps you narrow down your options. So it'll talk to you, it'll ask you questions about finances. It'll ask you questions about how close or how far you want to be from home, about academics, about not. I'll send it to you on your email that you signed up to this for, okay? So it'll kind of help you start narrowing down your schools. No problem. All right.
Good point.
We got Raven again. Raven, what you got?
Okay, what was one of your biggest flaws when you were in college that you found yourself having to work on a lot?
Ooh, my junior year, my sophomore year I was an All-American. My junior year I came back that year and I had a pretty good start to the season, and then by SEC play I could not hit the broadside of a barn. I was rolling over. I was not really striking out, but I was mishitting so many balls. It was I could not find dirt with my ball, at all, or even just solid ground. And that was really hard for me, especially after coming off such a good season. I felt such a burden on my shoulders that I felt like I had to be the one to do it instead of trusting my teammates behind me and kind of knowing, okay, you know, I don't have to do this all by myself. It made me really reevaluate what it meant, what type of player I was. So I really had to learn how to trust my teammates, and oh man, I was struggling, like thinking about it now, and I was like, I had so many nights where I would just lay in bed and I'm like, I'm the worst softball player ever. Like, I cannot hit. Like, we've all been there, right? It's a very unfortunate feeling, but I feel like a lot of it is mental. And so for me, being able to change my self-talk, right? Instead of like, oh, I suck, I'm the worst, like all these things, like, hey, I can do this. Like, I've seen what I can do. I am strong, I'm powerful, I'm resilient, like telling myself these things until I finally believed it and was able to swing myself out of a slump. And my teammates still loved me the same. Like, it was never like, oh my gosh, she's doing terrible, we don't like her anymore. But just like I was saying earlier about plugging in, they were able to plug into me and be like, hey, I see you getting on base even though you're not getting hits. I see you working hard at first base for your teammates, and like all these different things that I was doing. And I also realized, like, hey, hitting's not the only part of my game that I can bring to the table, right? I put so much pride in being a great first baseman. And so maybe if I wasn't producing at the plate, I was dang sure gonna produce at first base and save my infielders on some good throws. So I think just my mental side of knowing that I didn't have to do it all and it wasn't solely on me, and feeling like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. And realistically, that's why we play a team sport, is because we all want to feed off of each other. So definitely mental. And especially when the media gets involved and they're like hyping you up and stuff, and you're like, oh man, I gotta hit a home run, you know, it just becomes this like monumental thing, where in reality, like, no one cares enough to like watch every single pitch of every single at bat of your college career and nitpick you. But yeah, mental for sure. Don't let it get the best of you.
And if you don't hit home runs, try to work on being fast like me. I never hit a home run my whole life.
Hey,
so
I will tell you, I'm not
cares?
fast, but I was a dang good base runner.
All right, I got Layla. Layla, what you got?
What would you guys eat in a day? Or like, what would you guys eat on a daily basis?
In college?
College? Yeah, I'm like, where was I?
In college? So for me, I love to cook. So I would make a ton of meals, and I would try to like, not necessarily meal prep, but I would try to cook things in like bigger portions, so I would have leftovers so I could take it to the field. But a lot of times I would wake up and go to weights like at 6 or 7, maybe with like a banana or something really light. And then I would come home and make a bigger breakfast with like eggs and a protein and a little bit of carbs, just something to be able to fuel my body. And then I would try to take lunch to either class to eat in between classes or before practice or my hitting groups. But actually, luckily for us at school, we had through our nutrition program, they would send us like a menu, and you would pick out what you wanted to order if you wanted to order. So you could pick out anything from like a peanut butter and jelly to tuna and crackers. Like, it was a lot of different options. So it really falls down on you. But I will say your first year, you will forget to eat. Sometimes you're so busy and you're not used to it. Like, it just, eating becomes like the last thing in your mind, because oh my gosh, I have this assignment due. I don't want to be late for practice. Like, I have to make sure I get to class on time. Like, there's so many things like study hall, and that was a hectic time. But definitely,
I think most schools now, they have like, if you work out in the morning, they provide you with a breakfast option after that, or something like protein shakes or breakfast.
So,
like they feed you a lot on campus, I believe, if you're on campus a lot.
My freshman year, we were required to live in the dorm. So to live in the dorm, you had to buy a meal plan. So actually we, after workouts, we have a nutrition station where you have to have a protein shake and like a little small snack after your workout to make it worth your while. And then our eating center was called Slocum, and we would go there sometimes after. It's free breakfast, so you didn't have to pay for anything. But you always get free, now I think they changed it, but it's like breakfast and dinner free of charge wherever at your dining hall. So a lot of times, especially like if you go to a bigger school, they'll have like a place where you can eat and you get it free because you're a student athlete, and the NCAA is required to feed you. So, but what I ate, I tried to eat healthy. Did I always do it? No, but I tried. And I think the biggest thing is just being able to fuel yourself to get ready for games, practices, and not forgetting to eat like a lot of us did sometimes.
Good question, Lay. Good job. All right, I got Blakely again.
Blakely had a question too.
Who?
Mariana,
where are you? Oh, hey, she didn't. Okay, what you got, Mariana? Oh, shoot. There you go.
Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
So if you had like one piece of advice for us to like help us get ahead of the softball game in our softball career, what would it be?
Fundamentals are key. I think if you practice every day or at least 2 to 3 times a week fundamentals, you will like exponentially grow in your talents, because a lot of times as we get older, we feel like fundamentals are kind of something that we already know. We don't have to really work on them. And I feel the best players that I've been around practice those fundamentals almost every single time they're at a field. And they're really underrated, because if you think about it, right, when you first start, you learn how to catch, like you learn how to do all these like infield, how to field a ground ball, how to catch a ball, like how to catch a pop-up, all these different things. And as you get better, you stop thinking about those fundamentals and you start thinking about like, how do I make that great play? How do I make this diving catch, right? We have to take it back to the basics and remember that routine defense most oftentimes is going to be what you get. And defense wins championships. That's like the go-to line for everybody. The biggest thing is you can make it look easy, or you can make it not so easy on yourself when you start to forget those things, those fundamentals. So I think being able to just take it back, dial it down a notch, quit working on launch angle and separation, right? And just work on hitting the ball hard, and work on getting in the right position to field a ground ball, and being in the right position to catch a pop-up, working on your transition to home, and all these small things add up. So I think if anything, never be too good for the fundamentals. If you can always get down the fundamentals, you will be set.
Okay, thank you.
So Tori was like, I do have to brag on her for a second. She would be like an All-American in the school year, right? So she'd come from being an All-American, and she'd be texting us like, hey, what time is practice for the summer? I want to come to practice. Like, I think that's the part that people don't get to see, is when most kids play the college level, they stop in June, they're tired, they don't want to do it anymore. They take all the way off again until August, where she was calling us in June and July in the heat of the summer asking, can she come to more impact practices? When are we practicing? When are we doing stuff? So it's kind of like, if you want to be that level, you have to want to be that level every day, because she could have easily been an SEC All-American and sat on her butt for months and been okay, but she didn't do that so that she could hopefully be better the next year. So I just want to, she doesn't say that part, but that is a huge part of her success, is she kept working. She kept working, and she kept working like nothing was beneath her. She would come to practice, she'd pick up balls with all the other kids, she would shag, she would do all the things that our kids were doing who were in high school, who weren't All-American. She was doing all those same things with them, working just as hard. So just don't be too big for the little things. That would be my advice. Okay.
Because I remember coming to practice whenever I was in high school, and like thinking like, oh my God, like they're so awesome. Like, it's funny that you say that.
Yeah, you would. That always shocked me, because I was like, man, I don't want to probably sit down. Right. Yeah. Let's see. Who do you have? Somebody else on yours? Because I got Blakely with the raised hand on mine.
Let's see.
No. Yeah. So. Oh, I got Peyton again too. All right, Peyton, I see you, girl. I got 2 people with raised hands. All right.
Oh, SC Flynn. She hasn't asked one yet.
Who's that? Where is it? Can you undo them?
Oh, can I?
Yeah. Do you know how to unmute them or no? You can do it.
I don't think it gives me the option.
SC Flynn. Okay.
Oh, wait. Does it? Nope.
Okay. Give me a clap or something, SC Flynn. Hey.
There we go.
Is that her? Oh, Erica. Oh, Lord. Hi, Erica.
Hi.
What can I help you with today?
I just want to know, like, did you have any teammates that had any labs or anything? Or, like, was Coach Evans good with you being able to do the 12th man radio talk show and, like, maybe, like, be late to practice or, like, something like that? Or if you had to leave practice early?
Could you repeat the first part of the question? I'm sorry, you skipped.
Did you have any friends that had to, like, do any labs, like, any teammates that had any labs?
Yeah. Are you just like referring to like missing class or missing practice for like class and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as you get older, there's like certain classes that you are required to take for your major that are only offered maybe like once a year. So like 2 semesters, it's only offered in the spring at 3:30 to 5:30. And a lot of times your coaches will work with you. Thankfully, Coach Evans took a lot of pride in our academics and was huge on that. Like, it would be totally okay if it was like once or twice a week. Like, you have to take this class. Like, if there's no other option around it, then it wouldn't be a problem. You would just make sure that you would get there as soon as you could, warm up on your own, jump into practice, and then hopefully stay after and put in a little bit of work. But there's definitely going to be some times where you have to take a class and it's not going to be great with your schedule. But more often than not, I would like to say that college coaches will work around it because a lot of times that's the only option. But I definitely had a lot of teammates that had classes that ran into practice. But with 12th Man Productions, I think the only thing I ever missed was one of the unofficial visits. I was working football crews, so I had to be at the field 6 hours before the football game started, and it was like at 11 o'clock, so I had to be there at like 5 a.m. until an hour after the football game ended. So it was easily a 12-hour day. So I had to miss an unofficial visit with one of the girls coming, but all my teammates helped pick that up, and I went and asked and made sure that it was okay beforehand. But I think that was really the only thing I ever missed from 12th Man Productions.
Alrighty.
Nobody ever asked that.
She's a smart girl. She's going to be doing some sort of schooling with the lab. That's why she's asking.
Oh, yeah. And those labs are long, so.
Yeah. All right. I got Kayla. What's up, Kayla? What you got?
What factors influenced you the most to become the player you are today?
Oh, that's a good one. I think just my family in general. My whole family are athletes. My dad played baseball at Texas Tech. My mom played basketball in college. My brother played baseball in college. So it was just like always being around competitive people. And I just wanted to do everything my brother did. So if he was good at baseball, I wanted to be better than him. That was a lot of it, honestly. But once I really found who I was as a player, I think that's what kind of made us special. And it's funny because we always talk about how we have like the not original, but like what you would think of like a sister and a brother. Like we're like opposite. Like I'm like the really strong, I'm like tall, more for power, not really fast. And he is like super speedy, middle infielder, super agile, can bunt and like get on base with not even breaking a sweat. And I like need a pinch runner over here for a double. So it's like stuff like that. But I feel like always having someone to push me. It was never like my dad coming and be like, hey, we need to go hit. Hey, we need to go take ground balls. It was always like, hey, Josh, do you want to go in the backyard? Because we luckily had a batting cage growing up. But I would be like, hey, let's go hit. Let's see who can hit more balls to the screen on a line drive. So we were always just making competition out of it. And I feel like once I found that we could actually be really good, both of us, that it kind of lit a fire under us. And we wanted to not only compete with each other, but against other people and really test those. But I think just my parents had a big role to play in like who you become as a person. And that's with everybody, whoever you're around, whoever you're the 5 people you're around most is who you become like. So you really have to be careful with who you associate yourself with. Are you associating yourself with the hardest worker on the team and someone who really is focused and wanting to get better, or are you hanging out with the girls that are gossiping in the end of the dugout, worrying about what they're doing after practice? So it really does make a difference in who you surround yourself with, and the things that you tell yourself. Like I was talking about earlier, mental is one of the biggest things in the game. So if you can learn how to control that mental and really surround yourself with good people and really just keep that fire alive. A lot of times people let their fire for the game, their internal fire, kind of fizzle out because maybe they're not getting the results they want, or things aren't going their way. But I think if you find that fire inside of you and always remember your why are you playing? Why do you love this game? Why have you put all this time and effort in? Then you're gonna want to be the best you for you, and you want to always do this to make you happy, not your parents, not your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever it may be. You're not playing for anybody else. You're playing for you at the end of the day, and you're gonna have you to pick up the pieces when you fall apart. So always do it for you, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I like it. All right. So I'm going to let Cam go because she had her hand raised, and then I got a typed in question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cam.
Hi. Okay, so my question is, what would you say your most difficult year of college was, like academically and softball wise?
So academically, I would definitely say my freshman year, because my first semester freshman year, normally when you're an athlete, you get a priority schedule. So you get to like register for your classes beforehand because you have to work around like your practices, your weights and everything else. But your first semester, when you come in, you don't have any of that, right? We went to our NSC, which is our new student conference, and you had to, by yourself, register for all these classes and like pick out the times and the professors and everything that you wanted. And you had to do it at the same time as everybody else. So depending on when your NSC was, so mine was more towards the end of the summer because of softball, obviously, as always. But if you register for a class and you don't get it, you have to like go down your list and register. So I ended up getting like terrible class times. And on top of that, when I came in, I thought I wanted to be an athletic trainer. So I came in as a kinesiology major, which was a huge no when I realized I had to do a lot of science. I took chemistry, and this is hilarious, but I ended up making like a 42 in the class. And yeah, I know everyone's mouth is like, oh, but so the class was curved by like 30 something points because everyone in the class did that bad. Like it was not good. And it was his first semester teaching, the professor. So he like ended up curving the class, and I made a C. And I had never made a C in my entire life. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get kicked off the team. My mouth is going to hate me, like all these things. And my GPA was a 2.8. And I was like, oh man, like I couldn't even make a 3.0, like all these things. And I worked my entire career to get it to a 3.5. So, or my entire 4 years to get it to a 3.5. So that was my only C I ever made. And then I had to work so hard to get it back up to not only to a 3.0, but then I was like, man, I really want to get a 3.5. Like that was my goal. And I wanted to make the dean's list at least once. And at A&M, to make the dean's list, you have to be in 17 hours, which is a ton.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot. Full time is 12 hours. So that's 4 classes. So I had to take 2 winter semesters and 5 regular classes. So it was a lot, but I ended up getting a 3.0 and making the dean's list. So that was like a really good accomplishment for me. But that came after the hardship of my chemistry adventure when I was like, see ya, I'm not doing that. But then I switched to ag comm and journalism, and it was the best decision ever. Career-wise, I would definitely say my junior year, only because it was so tough on the field. But I always say, like, I would relive that year over and over again, because not only did we go to the World Series that year, but our team was like a solid unit. Like we had so much fun that year, and I just miss how much fun we had. And like we just, it was like a video game. Everything just came so easy to everyone except me. And like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one like not doing anything. I felt like I didn't contribute to get us here and like all these things. But at the end of the day, like I would go through that like heartbreak every single day over again to like experience that with my teammate, because that was such a special moment. And oh, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. Like the final pitch at Tennessee, game 3, after we made a comeback, game 2. Oh, the memories.
Okay. Oh, the memories. I felt that one.
I know, right?
Thanks, Cam. We have one that says, how was it playing for the Mexican national team, and what helped you make the team?
Oh, that's a good one. So I actually started in 2016. The pitching coach for Mexico, his name's Carlos. He actually saw me playing on TV on ESPN, like during one of the games that we had, and he asked my hitting coach, because he was, I guess, friends with him on Facebook or something like that. He reached out and he asked if I had any Hispanic descent or Mexican descent, and he said, I don't know, let me ask. And I'm like, Jerry, come on, look at me. Of course I do.
My last name is Vidales.
Yeah, right. I was like, hello. So the process to get to Team Mexico, I actually couldn't play the first summer because I didn't have my citizenship. So you have to get your dual citizenship to be able to be eligible to play for Team Mexico. So we had to go back and look for all kinds of documents, birth certificates, death certificates for like my family, and see like who was born in Mexico and all these things, and see if I qualified. Then we had to take it to the consulate and try to submit all that information and try to get that dual citizenship. So after about a year, I finally got dual citizenship and was able to play starting in summer of 16. And I think it's so funny now, because when we look back at how much we've grown, there was a point in time where we were playing with Mexico. We had four girls in one room, and we had for lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we had crock pot, rice, and beans, because we didn't have enough money in our funds to feed our team. And like now when we look back, right, all these people are like, oh yeah, Mexico's going to the Olympics finally, like after all this time. And a lot of girls that weren't on the team, not even whenever I started, but just like girls that want to go to the Olympics, all of a sudden are trying to claim that they're Mexican and like want to come be a part of our team just so they can go to the Olympics. But nobody really has seen that. Like there's a lot of stories that none of us have ever told or will ever tell, because of just the crap we've gone through and the way things just kind of played out. But truly just a lot of sacrifice and perseverance, because we had to go through a ton to get where we're at. But honestly, like I would do it all again because of where we ended up and how much the team has grown. But I think the biggest thing of like playing from college to pro is, one, the strike zone is ginormous. Like if a strike zone is like this for college, right, it's like the whole frame for international. I remember my first at bat against Japan. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a hit, and then I see a pitch on the inside half, literally in my batter's box on the right hand, and this man behind me said strike, and I just looked at him and I was like, wait, is that a joke? Like, are you serious? And he was like, yes, ma'am, that's a strike. And I was like, oh my God, okay, here we go. This is going to be an exciting little journey. So I remember trying to get used to the strike zone. A couple of the first tournaments, I was like striking out big time, because I would either not swing or I would remember really late that the strike zone was huge. And so I'm kind of like wave and try to like foul it off, and I would just miss it. So that was a big adjustment. But just the pace of the game, like at that point, like when you get to international, the girls are much older, so they have such good awareness of the game and just like body awareness in general. So some of the athleticism that I've seen in international play, is ridiculous. And just like the smarts of the game, right? People always talk about like softball IQ, like I was talking about earlier, and high school and then college gets fast. But if you think college is fast, international is like 10 times, because in college you can like walk out of the box when you're hitting. You can like walk down the line, take a couple swings, get back in, lick your batting gloves, whatever you need to do. And international, you have to keep 1 foot in, and you have 10 seconds in between pitches.
Oh.
Well, you technically have 20, but as a hitter, you only have 10 seconds to like get back in the box and get set ready, whereas the pitcher has 20. And if you take more than that, you get a strike given to you. So the speed of the game, they like force it to speed up. But I think one of the coolest things is just getting to play people from other countries. Like watching Japan play for the first time was like my jaw was like glued to the floor. It was just amazing. They're like machines. It's incredible. But everyone speaks the same language, and it's softball. So you don't really there's no language barrier. It's just cool to see people from different sides of the world play the same game.
All right, I have T. I have you, T. I can't say the Kuehn.
What is the best advice that you can give 8U and 10U softball players?
8U to 10U. Have fun. You guys are way too young to be worried about like skills and not skills, but like I feel like so often nowadays, like 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds will be like, I want to go to University of Florida and I want to win a national championship. Like that is the last thing that should be on your mind when you're 10. Like I feel like it should just be like having fun with your friends and enjoying this time. Like right now you have zero responsibility, and I wish I could go back to that age, because those were some of my best years just with my teammates. And I look back at pictures, and some of the pictures we have just like in the hotel in between games, or like at night our parents would like barbecue and we would just like do the most ridiculous things, and we would take pictures on our digital cameras because that was what was in. Really, we didn't have iPhones yet or anything, but just have fun. I mean, obviously you always want to get better and learn and try to find what works for you, but when you're playing, I feel like it should be about having fun. When you practice, yeah, you want to make sure, like I was saying earlier, work on those fundamentals and try to find your body awareness. So the biggest thing for younger athletes is a lot of times the ones that I've worked with have lacked the body awareness. So if I'm telling you, okay, you want to make sure when you get to your loading point, right, you want to make sure the first thing that moves is your hips. Okay, and then I'll tell them, okay, I want you to go in slow motion. I want you to get in your stance, and I want you to start your swing. And I ask them, I say, what's the first thing that should start? And they'll say, my hips. And I'm like, okay, let's see it. Slow motion. What's the first thing that they move? Their hands, right? And I'm like, do you feel that? And they're like, no, what? So I think that's so important to learn at a young age, is just body awareness. So a good tip for that is a better way to like learn is to record yourself, whether it's ground balls or hitting or whatever you want to practice. Film yourself and then take a mental note of like, oh, hey, what did that feel like? Okay, did I feel like my butt was low enough, or did I feel like my hands were in a good position? And then go back and look at the video and kind of make a comparison. What did the video look like? Did it look like what I felt? And then just kind of repeat that process of like, okay, is this what this feels like whenever I feel it? And then you're able to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together by taking a mental note of what you felt and recording yourself and actually seeing it. But just have fun, girl.
Okay, well, I disagree with Tori, because 10U was like my peak. That's when I was like my best.
Your
Like
peak?
if you go back to like 1999, I was the 10U champ of USFA. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, but nowadays
live your best
like
life.
it's like, oh, you win a tournament, you get a ring. And I'm like, a ring? Girl, I had to fight for this ring. Like, I had to go blood, sweat, and tears for this ring, and then now they're just giving them out. I'm like, what?
But I feel like at 10U, it's like blood, sweat, and cheers.
Oh my gosh.
Because you be winning. I'm telling you, that was my best time.
Yeah, I was never into like the rah-rah. Like I was never like, but I think that's because I was raised around guys and like
Boys.
around baseball, like, babe, like, here we go. Yeah, 2-4, we go 2-4. Like, it was never like, let's go, LETSG. Like, I was just never into that. So I don't know.
Oh, that's
maybe.
my jam. That cheer's my jam, actually. I just want you to know.
Oh my God. You're welcome.
All right, who we got? All right, there we go. Hold on. I'm going to go. I see you, Peyton. I got a couple hand raised from our usuals. We got usuals on today. I'm going to start with my girl, Blakely. And then I'm going to go to my girl, Raven. All right, what we got, Blakely?
Did y'all still have time to like party and stuff, or was it just like no, not like was it literally class and softball, or did y'all have time to like hang out with your friends and stuff?
Socialize. Definitely the first year, it's kind of like a balancing act. You feel like you kind of have to try because you feel like you're missing out if you don't socialize. But a lot of the places that you will socialize is at like the athlete centers. So like when we had study hall, we would hang out with other athletes. When we went to eat, we would try to hang out with other athletes. But a lot of times it's going to be dependent on your schedule and how you're able to work that in. So maybe like you're in a very homework heavy major, you may not have as much time to really spend with friends, like just socializing. Maybe you do like a homework date, like you guys just hang out at the library and just be with each other's company. Like, you know, there's a lot of different ways to be social. And I think once you find your way of like planning and time management, it becomes a lot easier. But I would say definitely we had time to like socialize and have a good time. But it's after you figure out what you're doing with your life, because the first year you're kind of like a chicken with your head cut off. But
well,
yes,
I had a different experience. I had a lot of time to socialize.
Well, you're you, so I don't expect anything less.
I went to a different type of school. Blakely, I went to LSU, and that's a part of our that was a part of my daily activities was to socialize. That was like written down, so I had time. But like Tori said, it was mostly with other athletes. So it was in the study halls. It was in the dining hall because we had to have a meal plan. So we socialized a lot there. You have time. Softball takes up a lot of your time, but it just, like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's still the same number of hours in the day. So you still have time for extra stuff. It's just where your time is spent is shifted. You don't spend all 8 hours in high school or middle school or elementary, and then you have after school. It's kind of broken up where like I may socialize at 12 o'clock during the day and then go back to class, or socialize and then go back to practice. So it's just broken up differently, but you still have enough time to like do things. It's not going to only be softball and then school and then go to bed. I hope not.
Unless you're like an engineer or something, then.
Yeah, unless you're an engineer, then it probably won't be.
And sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You'll be richer than all of us, so it doesn't really matter.
We'll be working for you.
All right.
All right, Raven, what you got?
Okay, I have 3 questions.
Oh, okay.
The first one, you know that email that you were going to send Blakely? Can you send that to me too?
Yeah, I'll send it to all of you guys. And for the little ones, you just hold it until 2029, and then you can use it.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it to all of you.
What was that? Okay, my second one was like, do you know like the pros and cons of going to a small school versus going to a big school?
Yeah, so I actually have a good friend, Sam Fisher, who is like the poster child for success at a smaller school. She went to LMU, which is a very small school in California, I believe. And she ended up being a 2-time All-American and got her number retired at her school and is currently playing pro, played with Team USA. So I feel like, and her reasoning behind wanting to go to a smaller school is she wanted to stay close to home. She wanted to go and make an immediate impact, and she wanted to have smaller classroom sizes. So when you go to a big school like A&M, most of my classes my freshman year, I had easily 300 people in a class, easily. And you don't get the same attention. So like for someone who maybe struggles with school a little bit more and maybe needs a little bit more explanation of, say, a math problem or whatever it may be, maybe that big classes isn't for you, and so it makes it a little bit tougher. So for me, I didn't really have like any pros and cons, I guess, for a smaller school because that was just never an option. But for someone that wants to make that an option, maybe you don't set out for that, but maybe find stuff like I was talking about earlier, how find what's important to you and write those down. Maybe all the things that you want in a school, maybe it does end up being a smaller school. So you never know unless you write it down and really kind of start to narrow down, okay, what does this school have compared to this school? So like with A&M and LMU, okay, smaller classes, you're going to be traveling probably to closer schools. In LMU, you're going to be probably busing rather than flying, which is not really like a huge deal, I don't think, but I guess it is if you're driving like 12 hours for one weekend or something like that. But so I think it just depends on like what you want. Like at the end of the day, it's going to be what's the perfect school for you. And like my pros and cons would probably be way different than your pros and cons. So write your pros and cons down and make sure that you find somewhere that fits your pros and doesn't have any of your cons, or maybe just like one or two.
And Raven, I think that recruiting decisions, so no one wants to hear this probably on the call, but they should be made with your parents. So everyone always says like, oh, I get to decide where I'm going to school. Just to tell you guys a secret, like you don't know everything yet. Like you don't know it all. So I think that those decisions have to be made with your parents who've probably already been through it, but who also think about things that we don't think about. When I was being recruited, my first dream school was UCLA because I went to be Natasha Wiley. And I did not realize that if I went to UCLA, my parents could never come to watch me play. And I never thought of that until my mom said that. And I was like, oh, that is true. How am I going to, yeah, that is, okay. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, but you're right. They're never going to watch me play in California. So I think you just have to sit down with your parents and have an honest conversation about what the next 4 years looks like, but also what we get out of that 4 years to propose the rest of your life, right? So don't go to school and major in softball, if that makes sense. Like I've had kids literally pick a school that doesn't have the major they need, go there, and then have to go to college afterwards. And that's crazy. Go to school, use softball to help you get the education that you need to help the rest of your life. So that is, I think, a parent, like y'all all have to kind of make that work together to make the best decision.
And normally your parents know you the best anyways.
Yeah, they really do.
Better than you know yourself. So
they really do. What else you got? What was the third question?
Okay, so like, did you ever get the chance to like find a certain relationship with one of your professors to like negotiate around the softball schedule, or like if something ever happened with softball that clashed?
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, we had specific schedules printed out for us for when we would be traveling, and I had to highlight. Well, I would do this. I would highlight which specific class I would miss before I turned it into the teacher or the professor. I would be like, hey, my name's Tori. Like, I play softball, which most times they know because I would walk into my softball stuff because I would have to go straight to practice. So, but I would like hand them my stuff and I'd be like, look, like, I know I don't want to miss class, but I've highlighted these classes that I'm going to miss. Please let me know if there's anything I can do, if I need to come in and take a test early, or if you have a makeup day or whatever. Most times they will work around it. There will be some professors who just hate athletes and like aren't very lenient with you, and that's going to happen everywhere, mostly. But most times I would say there's been no problems. One time I actually had to miss like a mandatory field trip because we had our maroon and white games, and my professor was like, nah, don't even worry about it. He was like, I don't want to make Joe mad. Just don't worry about it. You can do another assignment. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was just easy 1, 2, 3. So it was just like, he understood. And well, it was also my senior year, so he kind of knew. But most times they'll work with you and it's not too big of a deal. As long as you take care of stuff on your end, like, don't be that player that was like, oh, hey, like, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, or like whatever it may be. Remind them that the times come, like, hey, just next week, I'm not going to be here. Is there anything I need to do beforehand? Or like, get ahead of it. Don't wait till the last minute and be like, oh, sorry, I won't be here that day, or or whenever the assignment gets put in as a 0, be like, oh, don't you remember I wasn't here that day, or whatever it may be. So be proactive instead of reactive.
Tori, I have a question. What was it like to go to the World Series? I want to know, like, how was that experience? Was it magical? Amazing?
Honestly,
like, what was that like?
So I think the coolest part was just like qualifying for it, or like, what is it, winning the supers? Like
Super regions.
that by far is like the coolest moment, because it's like still in the future, right? You don't know quite what it's like yet, but that's what you're working for. Like that's your whole goal. So when you finally achieve it, it's just like, oh my gosh, pure like euphoria. Like it's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's like out of body
You're
experience.
the top, you're one of 8, like you're the top 8 teams in the country out of 200 and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing.
Yeah. And like our junior year, oh my God, we played like, bad our first game. Like we got run rolled. It was like 11-0. Like it was bad. And then we came back the second day and we were losing until the 5th inning, and we made a comeback. That was when Keely got hit in the helmet and was like,
yep.
Oh. And then
way to use it all.
I know. Our coach gave like this incredible speech. Like it was just like, it fired us up, and it actually went like viral on Twitter. So that was cool. And then, so that next day we were like pumped to get to the field. We were so ready, and we jumped on them so fast. And I remember when Riley hit the 3-run home run, I was rounding third, and I heard their pitching coach. He was like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Like as loud. And I was like, like running home. I was like, yes, let's go. But that moment, there's like a picture of us celebrating, and like Riley's jumping into my arms, and Ashley and Trin are like hugging. And that was right after Trin had lost her dad, and missed our regional. So she missed regionals, sat out with, she was in Colorado at the hospital with her mom and her dad. He passed away, and we FaceTimed her on the field at regionals, and we were like, like, we did this for you. We can't wait for you to come back and get us to the World Series. And then it kind of just like came full circle, and we actually did it, and it was just so amazing. And we were all just in tears because it was such a special moment, because it was so much bigger than softball at that time. Like someone had just lost their father, like a very important person in their life, and like we were banded together for her, and it was just such an awesome moment. Like, I love that day. That day was so awesome. But so when you finally get there, it's so cool. Like they have your school, like your logo everywhere, and they do a bunch of interviews and all the cool things you see on ESPN, like before and between games. They'll do like pictures, a photo shoot, and then a couple like videos, slow-mo, cool things. Yeah, I was like living my best life at that point. And then I would say one thing that I was like not expecting is when you get there, like usually before games, you have your routine. Like you get on the field, you throw a little bit, right? You do your everydays, like all these things. And when you get there, they're so strict with like how much time is in between. You have a set time of 30 minutes. So the moment that game ends, your 30 minutes starts. So you have to like get on and do everything you have to do really, really, really fast. And if it's not your like fielding time, you have to stay off the field completely. So like you can't go like on the warning track, or you can't go like on the side where the foul lines are in between the dugout. You have like, so we literally did our everydays inside of the dugout.
Oh, that's crazy.
So that moment was kind of just like, oh my gosh, I'm so like rushed, and like I feel not prepared like completely for this game right now. And of course we go in the first game, we have to play Florida, who was just like on it that year, right? They killed us. And then we had to play UCLA, who that was the game that Lisa Fernandez got thrown out of the game. So that became like a huge thing. Oh my gosh, man, what a journey. But yeah, I would say it's so cool because you don't realize how many people are there, but it's so weird because the crowd is there and it's packed, right? But it's like dead silent because everyone there is just like a softball fan. They're not like, it's not like a home game unless you're OU. But it's not like a home game where people are like cheering for you, right? Unless you're close. Like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, like of course they're gonna have a huge fan base because they're right down the street. But like a lot of our alumni came, and so they were super loud in the crowd and everything like that. But it's so weird because you'll get a hit and it's like one small square of this entire huge stadium is cheering, and the rest are just kind of like looking on. They're just like nodding, like golf claps.
All right.
Like,
yeah.
it was just like weirdly, like oddly silent. But my Lexi Smith, one of our pitchers, one of my best friends, she came in to pitch I think it was the first game, Florida. And I had to go up. She was like throwing balls after ball after ball after ball. And I was like, I want you to take a look around the stadium right now. And she's like, no, I'm like, no, put your glove down and literally look at this entire stadium. And I was like, good, now you got it out of your system. Now throw a damn strike. And she just kind of like laughed, and she says she remembers that moment because she was so nervous, and she just gets like giddy and like,
Yeah.
I was nervous, of course.
Yeah, I was like, I'd be nervous. Jeez.
I was nervous, but I had to like pretend that I wasn't, or like make her feel like it wasn't a big deal, you know, like I just had to kind of make it seem okay. And after that, she was able to like get out of it and throw some strikes. But I told her, I was like, hey, if you get out of this inning, I'll buy you some chicken nuggets. And like that was her thing, like chicken nuggets. So she ended up striking the girl out, and I had to buy her chicken nuggets. But like that was our thing. Like that was just easy 1, 2, 3. But it's definitely nerve wracking. But you have to kind of live up to the pressure. And hey, you die to be there. So when you're finally there,
That's
do you
true.
show up? Do you not? You know.
Well, I want to take you to another moment that was a big one, but not in a good way.
Oh yeah.
Because I think it's good for the kids to know, like, yeah, Tori was very successful. She went to the World Series. She was an All-American. She was pro girl, all that. But there was your senior year where you guys are at super regionals. You had the chance. You're like a strike away or something, or a couple outs away. And you guys gave up the lead. And then you go and you hit home runs and get it back, right?
Yeah.
You hit the home run and got it back, and then gave it up again.
Second game, I hit the 3-run go ahead, and we ended up winning that game. Then
okay,
the
last game.
The next day, we were down 2-1. Was it 2-1? Yeah, we were down 2-1. Top of the 7th inning, 2 outs. I was hitting 2-hole at the time, and we were about to lose pretty much. It was going to take a miracle for us to pull it out. And I remember Sarah Hudek, who also played for Impact. She kind of like looked at me, and I was like, don't, like, do your thing. Don't worry.
Cry. Yeah.
Well, because she was so worried that she was going to be the last out, and like she was worried that she was going to end my career. And I was like, don't worry about me. Like, do your thing. Like, she had been on fire all weekend. So I was like, just do you. Like, don't try to be anything you're not right now. Just see ball, hit ball. And she was like, okay. She ends up getting a hit through 3-4 hole, gets on base. And I step in the box, and my immediate thought is like, man, everybody thinks I'm about to hit a home run. Like, you know, like I'm just trying to make contact, like a solid gap hit at this point, right? And I remember thinking to myself, I get in the box, I get a ball, right? So 1 ball, no strikes. And I'm like, dang, this could be my last at bat as an Aggie. And so I'm like trying to like keep my mind calm, and it was the most odd feeling. Like I wasn't nervous like at all. Like I was just ready. Like whatever happened, I was ready. And I just felt like this overwhelming, like just like a blanket was thrown of calmness over me. And I don't even remember like what the like pitch sequence was or anything. Like I just remember swinging and seeing the ball going, and I was like, oh my God, it happened. And like the whole crowd, like there's actually a video of it that one of the parents, I guess, took from the crowd. And I was so hyped that like normally I turn around and I like yell at the dugout, but I did it twice because I was so excited, and I like legit almost missed first base. Like I like ran and I like tried to turn, but my cleat like got stuck in the dirt. And so like I almost missed first base, and I had to like get up, but I was so excited. It was just like such a weird moment. But I get up and I run around the bases, and there's a picture of me like coming into home, and just like everybody's face is like it makes me so happy because it was just like such a great moment.
Yeah.
So fast forward, we go to the bottom of the
So wait,
seventh.
on that one you went ahead, right? So that made you go ahead by
Yeah,
one?
so it was a 2-run home run, so we were winning 3-2. So the bottom of the seventh inning, Amanda Lorenz is leading off. So we were like, let's keep her off base. Didn't happen. So she gets on, and then we ended up there was like a fly out and a ground out or something like that, and then a walk or something similar. So there was runners at second or first and second, 2 outs, 1-2 count, and this freshman had been just like fouling off pitches. Like it was a long at bat. It was like probably 10 or 11 pitches, and the last one she just cracked the bat. I was like, oh my god, it's over. Like
the home run. Yep.
Yeah, it was like a line drive. Like it got out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry. And like literally, if this is the fence, it was like like right over the fence. And I just remember like falling to my knees, and it was just like, I can't believe it's over. Like, how did that just happen? And it was like such an emotional roller coaster because you were at the highest of highs, and then immediately just like lowest of lows in one swing. And so that was truly a heartbreaking moment. And it's like crazy because that next summer when I went to go play pro, everybody was like, oh man, you guys were so close. And I was like, please don't talk to me about it. Like I was just like,
you guys were 1 out away, I believe. And
yeah, twice.
I was crying. I watched that game and I was like, you hit the home run, and I was like, oh, I told you. And I was like jumping up and down, and then it was like I wasn't even there, but it was like smacked me across the face. I was like, oh,
literally,
we're not going to the World Series. Like what?
It was like it was heartbreaking. I mean, to have it just like literally, and like you didn't have any control. Like I did everything in my power to send us, and like we all tried to do everything in our power, and literally one swing like changes your entire career. Like I could have gone to the World Series. We all could have gone to the World Series again, and it could have been like an amazing moment. And it's kind of funny because beforehand they were doing like the pregame interviews, like the pre-series or whatever, and like this Florida broadcaster came up to me and he was like, so how does it feel that like Florida A&M has never come to Florida and won a game in Gainesville? And I'm like sitting there like staring at him. I'm like, sir, really? You're gonna ask me this? Like I'm like, hey, first time for everything, you know what I mean? Like I was real confident because I knew that like we had the talent to do it. First game we come out, we were like winning, and then we ended up making a couple errors, fumbling the ball around, and losing the first game on a walk-off walk. So that was devastating.
You don't hear that often.
Yeah, it was interesting one for sure. So basically, we won almost all 3 games and still managed to lose 2 of them.
Yeah.
And we
but how long did it take you to get over that? Like how long, like were you in a bad mood for like 3 or 4 days? Were you like how long did it take you to move on from I did everything I could or we did everything we could but we still lost?
Man, I mean it's still tough to this day that like I think about it and I'm like, dang God, if there would just like one thing that would have went differently, like it would have been a whole new story. Like all these things. But I remember directly after, you know, like obviously everyone was watching that game because it was one of the only games that went 3, and it was I believe it was one of the last ones to be played. So pretty much everybody in the softball world was watching that game. So the moment we lost, I had so many texts like. And it's funny because at the top of the 7th, everyone's like, "Oh my God, like I can't believe it!" Like, oh, and then it's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Like, you know, like the tone kind of changed.
Yeah.
But, so normally after the game, we like change out of our uniform into our travel suit, and then we get on the flight and we chartered. So we drove just straight up to like the little airport and hopped on the plane, flew home, but I didn't change out of my uniform because I didn't want to take it off because it was going to be the last time I ever took it off and that I was ever going to wear it. So I was like, man, I don't want to take this off. And I remember we were already technically playing in Davis, the new facility at A&M, but the Aggie complex was like my home. And I remember coming home after that and like finally taking off my uniform for the last time. And I was like bawling. And I put my uniforms in like the little piles that we put them in, and I was like the last one in the locker room, and I walked out to the field, and I was just like sitting there staring at the field, and I was like, oh my God. And I went and sat in center field, and I just cried. Like I let it all out, and I'm not normally a crier, so it was super weird for me. I felt really weird that I like had so many emotions, but I was just like, I'm just gonna like feel like tonight, like it's just gonna be me letting it all out and feeling all those emotions. And I sat there probably for a good 2 hours, just like reminiscing about all the games and like all of like the really cool time. Like I broke the RBI record on that field, so it was like a lot of it held a lot of special like moments for not only me but a lot of the girls that I've played with and just like our team in general. So just like thinking about all the times, and even now I'm like, dang, like I miss college so much, and like all the fun times we had. And college softball is unlike anything you'll ever do, even international and pro. Like I don't feel like you'll never reach that just importance and like camaraderie and like the mission and the hard work that goes into it, because you spend all year training together and you're with each other 24/7. You really become like family. And when you transition into that pro international, yeah, you're still really close, and I would ride and die for my girls, but like we don't spend all summer or like all fall and spring together, and we don't get that. It's just kind of like we go together when we need to play and we come away. So I definitely miss it, and it took a long time to like even want to like talk about it and like watch it. I remember going to watch it back for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, what a heartbreak. But there's a point in time where it's like you have to realize, like, at least for me, like I did everything I could. There was literally nothing else I could have done. So I go to sleep knowing that I did everything I could, and that's it. You can't really change it. There's a plan for everything. So
True.
Can't hate on it.
Time for a couple more questions.
Okay.
Like 2 more. So hit the little button, the little hand thing. I got my OG Blakely's back up. What you got, Blakely?
All right, I have 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I wrote them down. So one of them is, like, do you miss a lot of your classes for softball? Like, do you have to, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So for us, we would travel on Thursdays. Yeah, Thursdays. And then Friday, we would obviously not be at class. So I would try to schedule my classes where I only had maybe like Tuesday, Thursday earlier classes, or I would try to schedule it in a way where I wouldn't miss as many. So you kind of learn as you go the right way to schedule certain classes to get around that. And 2, you want to like make sure like your important classes where you have like a lot of in-class work, you're not missing those too much. Or if you are, find some friends that aren't athletes so you can kind of figure out what you miss, or like maybe they take notes and you guys switch notes or whatever it may be. But it takes a village, honestly. It's never going to be just you, but yeah, it's important to know like what your travel schedule is or what it's going to look like, so that way you have a good idea of what's the best way to schedule your classes in the spring so that you miss the least amount of classes possible.
Okay, and
Blakely,
also
hold on, Blakely. It depends on the school. No, it's okay. It depends on the school you go to. So some schools they play like a doubleheader Saturday, so you don't miss. You would like travel on Friday, and so they play a doubleheader Saturday and then a game Sunday, and then they head back. Or there's even a conference that plays 2 games on Friday, a game on Saturday. So it just depends on the conference. And I don't know about A&M because I didn't go there, but I know like at LSU we had an academic advisor. So any classes that we couldn't miss a lot of classes, we took those in the fall. And then we took they would make it separate. So like the classes that we had to be at everything, we took those in the fall. And so we worked that way. Okay, go ahead.
And is there any way you could like rewatch this? Because one of my friends is hitting.
Yeah. So we are recording this, and we'll put it on that same page that y'all signed up on.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks, Blakely. Now I'll know you forever. Okay. Okay. Oh, what'd you say?
Sorry, I was just saying I might have another question. So, but maybe not.
Okay.
I don't.
We'll find out.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. What we got, Miss Guy?
Okay, so I was wondering, like, for academics wise, when you're on the road, do they have like special tutors for like athletes for extra help, like if you're not able to do classes?
Yeah, so some schools I know do. We personally didn't. We were only gone for like 3 days max. So actually, was it 3? Yeah, 3.
Except for like SEC tournament.
Yeah, okay, so SEC tournament, we didn't really have mandatory study hall because we were normally either finishing finals or you had maybe like 1 or 2 when you got back, depending on if you won or lost. But some teams do travel with like an academic advisor and they'll bring and you have like mandatory study hall. But for us, we did not have anything that we like had to go to. It was more just like make sure you get all your work done, and if you don't, that's on you, and if you can't play, so get it done.
I would say it's hard to fail college. Like,
yeah,
from my perspective, like
I
you get
agree.
all the help in the world. Like, they may not be necessarily with you on the road, but they are like, you know it all. Like, you know your plan before you start traveling. So it's not like high school where like on Friday they assign you a 10-page paper. Like, you know way more in advance. So if you're unsuccessful, you probably tried to be. Like, you worked hard at failing. Like, it's not high school. Yeah. All right.
Okay, well,
thank you.
You bet.
All right. I got Zan. Zan, what you got?
It's Aiden.
It's Aiden.
Oh, hey, Aiden.
I'm a huge Texas A&M fan, and I was just wondering, what was it like to play for Coach Evans?
Oh, it was amazing. Honestly, I love that woman. She's like a second mom to me. I feel like she taught me so much more than just softball, which I think is really cool. She's a very respected coach, just like in the softball world, and she was able to teach us like those life lessons. And even though like you wouldn't know what was going on, like you come back and you look at it and you're like, wow, like oh man, she taught us that, and she like finessed us. She didn't even like make it seem like she was trying to teach you anything, but she's like actually low-key teaching you a lesson. But I think a big part of it is she teaches you how to have that discipline and just how to pay attention to the little details. But for me, I feel like the best thing she did for me was make me a true leader. She kind of helped me figure out my leadership style and how to play that into the team. Like how did that dynamic fit into the team, and how could I make other people better by holding them accountable? Or how did I fix my tone so it didn't make it seem like I was yelling at you, but it made it sound like I had your best interest at heart? So like for me, I think just the development outside of softball was huge. She gives the best speeches you'll ever hear, and she does it so easily. Like it's just like second nature for her to like pull out a Grammy worthy speech. Like it's honestly crazy. But yeah, I think it was one of the best things ever. Like I said, like I made one of the best decisions in my life at 14. I don't regret a single thing. I loved playing for Coach Evans. And like she's actually coming to Tokyo to watch me play in the Olympics. So that just goes to show like
I was coming as well. I had my ticket.
Oh, nice.
But now it doesn't matter.
But yeah, like she had tickets through like me. So we had 5 tickets.
Oh.
And it was my mom, my dad, my grandparents, and then Coach Evans. So if that just
I don't know about the ticket game.
How important she is to me and how important her kids are to her. So she's the best. 100%.
Thank you.
You bet.
Talk to you soon. Kick 'em. Get out.
Get this Aggie bling.
Oh Lord. Okay, we got Layla. What's up, Layla? What you got?
What were your like top 5 colleges you wanted to go to, other than A&M?
So Well, I actually like had written out, like, this is like probably in 7th grade. My mom was like, you need to write down all the schools that you want
I
to go
want to
to.
hear this. I don't know this either. What are
Top
they?
10. Tell me why I wrote TCU in my top 10.
They don't have softball. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like naming colleges that I knew. I was like, TCU.
That's funny. They did not have it.
Yeah, they definitely don't have it. Really, Texas and A&M were the only two that I really looked at. It's so weird because like all my friends that I talk to now, most of them are from California, and for some reason, I guess California is like way ahead of the game in like whenever my years was in high school. They like, maybe I just was oblivious to it, but they all went on like a lot of visits to like a lot of top schools, and they were like, yeah, I didn't like this one because of this, and like all these. And then one of my friends is like, yeah, I committed to Mizzou because of the smoothie machine in the workout room. I'm like, oh my god. So like I said, there's pros and cons.
The smoothie machine. All right.
Yeah, really only 2, but I don't know. I feel like I should have taken more visits just to like reiterate that I love Texas A&M, but I jumped on the offer as soon as I got it and never looked back.
All right. Thanks, Lay. All right. We got Raven back again. What's going on, Raven?
So, my first question, it was gonna be like, did you have any consequences for failing? But then you had already answered that. It was pretty hard to fail. And then my next question was gonna wait, hold on, wait.
Okay.
Oh, how did you deal with like the responsibility of like being away from home for like the first time and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
Tell them how far you were from home.
Yeah, okay, so I'm only 2 hours from home. So I mean, that's still for like high school when you're driving, like I feel like 2 hours is a long way. Like for me, at least, even now I'm like, dang, I gotta drive 2 hours. That's a long way. But no, I think that's one of the biggest things is like the first time you're away from home, I think you realize how much your parents actually do for you. And you realize how much of a hassle being a human is sometimes. Like you got to clean, you got to eat, and how are you going to eat? You got to make your own food, or you got to go find food. And like there's just so many little things that you don't realize that like as a human that you do and that you need and that you're accustomed to when your parents are there for you. But probably the biggest thing is being responsible for yourself. Like you have to remember to eat, you have to remember to be places on time. Like your mom's not there, hey, remember we have practice at 7, we're leaving at 6:30. Like all these different things, you have to suddenly become like your own mom. My biggest thing was not telling my parents where I was going all the time. Like I always felt like in high school I'd be like, hey mom, I'm going to the store, or I'm going wherever. In college it's like you don't have anybody to really answer to. I mean you do, but like you don't have to like tell your mom like, oh hey, I'm going to so and so's to study, or like I'm going out to have a drink with my friend, or whatever it may be. Like you don't have to like constantly check in with them. Like you have to make those responsible decisions. But yeah, being away from home for the first time is very eye-opening for sure. But I think it really teaches you a lot about yourself, and teaches you how to not be lazy, hopefully, and to create the type of life you want to live. Like maybe you're a super clean person, it's going to show you how much you have to actually clean. Like if you have say an apartment or a house, even a dorm. But I think a big thing that did help was I was only 2 hours away from home, and then my roommate my freshman year, Erica Russell, who also played for Impact, her mom, or she's from the Bryan College Station area, so her mom was right down the street. And literally all the way through senior year, I would call her parents if I needed something. Like I remember my tire, I got like a nail stuck in it or something. And I called her dad and I was like, Kevin, help. I don't know what to do. Like my tire's flat on the side of the road. He was like, where are you? I'll come get you. Like, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. And so it's always nice to have people like that around you. But a lot of times your coach could be a great resource for that. Cause I mean, they've been there, done that. And I know a lot of coaches would do anything for their kids. Like a lot of my teammates will be like, yeah, one time, like we didn't have a ride home and he came and picked us up. And I was like, what? Like your coach? And they're like, yeah, anything we
Yeah.
needed, like he was there. So that's a big thing, is like, let your coach help you. Like if they offer, like let them help you.
I was a little further away. I was about 4.5 hours away, and I went to college at 17, like right after I turned 17.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And
That's-
my coaches were amazing. They were probably more involved than they probably should have been, but they were awesome. They were like, they know everything that's going on with you when you're there. I mean, it is like, from your nutrition, like they knew stuff that I was like, how do you know before I know what's going on with me? Like they know, and so they're there to help you. They're gonna help you. You won't feel like you're away. You're gonna be so busy the first couple months. You're gonna look around like can't even come up for air to think that you're away. Like, yeah. So it's not gonna be one of those things where you're sitting in your dorm like, I miss home. Like you're gonna be busy and
everything
making friends
really exciting.
yeah. So it'll be really, college was the best time of my life. It was
100%.
the best time. I met my lifelong friends. I met most of my business connections, or any connections that I made in like the business world, started there. Like it's a pretty remarkable 4 to 5 years. 6 if you're having a rough time. Yeah. Okay, last question, because poor Tori, I promised her an hour call and it's been 2 hours. So
no, I'm loving this. This is great.
Okay, good. I was like, I feel so bad. She's
not like we have anything
girl.
else to do, right?
Well, I didn't know if you had a couple other quarantine calls. You're a popular girl. Okay, so let me see what my girl Kayla got. All right, let's see. Hey, Kayla.
So for you, Tori, what was life like after playing college ball?
Oh, that's a good question. Life has been really hectic since stopping college ball. I will say in the fall, things were really weird because I had played my first year with Scrapyard in the summer, and then I came back to College Station because obviously I was still playing, so I wanted to take the opportunity to have the training facilities there at my beck and call whenever I needed them. So I ended up staying another year, technically 2, but I stayed a year. And in the fall, I was giving lessons and just like working out. And for the first time, I was bored, like with nothing to do. Like I would go work out and I would come home and I wouldn't have anything to do until like 6 or 7 p.m. And whenever I had my lessons, I was like, oh my gosh, you don't realize how busy you are as an athlete in college until you're not doing it anymore. And then you're like, whoa, I filled so much time with like softball and school and everything else that I never had time to do anything. And now I don't have anything to do. And we think it's so great. Like, I wish I had nothing to do. I could get all this done. No, it's just like really boring. But so the first spring after was a whirlwind because I called SEC Plus games. So I was a color commentator for SEC Plus. I did radio for the away games. So I traveled with the team and did radio at Palm Springs, Auburn, Georgia, a couple other ones. And then on top of that, in April, I started with SEC Network. So I would fly every Wednesday. I would fly out to Charlotte, which is like at least 2 connecting flights. So I had to like schedule all my flights and fly out there, do 2 shows, and then fly back on Saturday, and then call the 2 games on Saturday and Sunday. So that was just like a never-ending cycle for the spring until June 4th, we started MPF. So I played with the Cleveland Comets the past summer, and we played from June 5th till like August 22nd. And in that whole time, we had 2 weeks off that we were like able to go home. And all the other days we were in a hotel for the entire day, or like entire summer. So like,
wow,
I was home for actually less than 2 weeks. It was like a week and a day or something like that. but we were on the go all summer. And then we qualified for the Olympics in August. So that's been kind of a new territory for us because we started a spring tour, fall/spring. So last November, we went to Japan to get in a couple exhibition games against them. And then in January, we went to Australia before everything got crazy. And we played in the Australian Cup, I believe it was called. We played a bunch of the teams. And then we were actually supposed to go to a couple other tournaments. We were supposed to go to like San Diego, Fresno State, and then we were going to go to Italy in May. But obviously plans got messed up. But yeah, so that's been life since. Oh, and package deal on top of all that. So package deal clinics usually in the fall/winter months. But yeah, just trying to stay busy, but not too busy, you know. In the
All right, we got one more question, and then we got to go. All right, it's from our girl, Miss Sky.
Hi. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
of course.
Okay, so like when you had like classes in softball, did you have any time for a job?
So I actually worked at 12 Man Productions. I wasn't there a ton like all the other student workers were, but I had to kind of pick and choose when I went in. So my senior year, I did a segment every week called the Aggie Minute, and it was like a kind of like an update on Aggie sports and like who won, where were they going to play next. And I did it like half in English, half in Spanish, and I had to shoot it, edit it, and publish it in less than like an hour and a half because I had class in the morning and then I had hitting right after. So I had to like get all of that in before because I had no other time, and it was only on Wednesdays. So I was only able to get in there on Wednesdays and had to do that. So I had to like learn how to do it really quick. But I did work football crew my junior year. And then my senior year, I actually worked volleyball too. So I got to do filming on their travel tournament. So I got to go to Florida and I think Auburn, something like that. But I went on 2 trips with volleyball, and I got to do like sideline video and stuff like that. So it was cool to like to travel with another team and see how they did things and just how different everything was. But yeah, I shot film for them. Then I had to come back and import it and name all the clips and everything like that. So I got to be a small part of a very big production that goes on behind the scenes for all the sports. But yeah, that was basically my job. It was hard because media, like the sports media, takes so much work because like editing a video could take anywhere from like an hour to like 26 hours. No joke, no exaggeration there. So it was cool, but I definitely had to pick and choose what I wanted to like get involved in, and I did have to sacrifice a couple like opportunities just because I knew I wouldn't have time because of my schedule and how hectic it was. But I'm thankful for the opportunities that I did get because they got me my job.
True that. Okay, last question. Seriously, Raven, what you got?
Okay, this isn't a question. This just goes out to like all the impact people. So like when we joined organization, we just always one of those really, really cool huddle things, and we finally came up with a good one when we came to the Impact Gold organization. I just want to teach it to everyone who's on here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, girl. I'm listening. I like a good cheer.
The person in the middle of the huddle is, who are we? Impact Gold. What are we? Gold-blooded. Who are we? Impact Gold. What are we? Gold-blooded. And then we're like, Impact on 3, 1, 2, 3, Impact Gold. And yeah.
Oh, I like it. I like that. Okay. I'm going to use that now. I'm going to steal it. I'm going to put my name on it. And then, so I made it up now. But thank you for. No, that's good. I like it.
Royalties.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you your check later at some point. But no, that's good. I like that. Okay.